listening to Reality Wrap. I'm your host, Melanie. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Reality Wrap. I have Mr. Sean with me today.
Hey everyone.
Tonight we're going to be recapping last night's part 3 of the Salt Lake City reunion, and I have to say that I am super irritated after watching that.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, and it's so funny because obviously it came out yesterday that they were not going to have Monica back, and this came out before the reunion came on, and so we were sitting there watching it, and I said to Sean, oh, by the way, it came out today that Monica wasn't going to be coming back to the show, and Sean was ready to riot. He was like, what? That's it. I'm not watching this show anymore.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
It was a very emotional moment.
Sean's emotions got the better of him.
I don't see me watching season 5 if I don't want to be like a poor sport about it, but if she's not there, I won't be either.
You know what? That seems to be kind of a lot of people's views on it, because who really wants to watch the four ladies? Yeah,
those other ladies on the couch that did that?
Yeah,
no one.
Nobody. So anyway, yeah, all kinds of stuff have been coming out. Heather was on Watch What Happens Live last night, and she was whatever. I watched part of it, and she was making me sick. Basically, everybody wanted to know why she kept Tanisha as her hairdresser, and she was like, oh, well, Tanisha didn't want any of this. She just wants it to go away. And I was like, wait a minute.
It's more lies from Heather.
Right? I was like, Tanisha literally was on her Instagram stories during this whole period when all this came out, and then she proceeded to do podcasts and talk about her side of the story. I'm like, for somebody who wants it to go away, she sure isn't acting like it.
I agree. Here's my takeaway from this. As egregious as what we know Monica did and lied about,
yeah,
the other ladies still came off looking worse on their whatever coordinated retaliation that was. By the way, that started at the beach.
Yeah, I think before they got into Bermuda, because if you really look back at the way Heather behaved
coordinated
in Bermuda, the way she was kind of like setting Monica up, I do feel like that. I mean, I'm not excusing what Monica did.
No,
she really did some fucked up stuff.
Last night was like watching a group of high school mean girls go after one.
Well,
girl
I think that was
to go after.
That was the point of her burn book. It was from that movie,
Mean Girls.
Whatever the movie it was from. I think it was from Mean Girls. Anyways, also Heather said something interesting, which I was kind of like, wow. She basically said that she hopes that Jen Shaw watched from prison and was glad that they helped take Monica down. Let me play the clip.
Ask her directly. Do you think she saw that?
I mean, I don't know if you can watch the reunion in prison.
Teresa, they had Bravo
then
at
of course
Teresa's
she watched
joint.
it.
And Joe Giudice, I think, had it at his joint.
It was a typical response, and I think she absolutely watched it, and I hope she's glad that we at least, uprooted Monica, who had really been after her the entire time.
Heather just justified everything bad Jen just did by giving her that nod.
100%.
So stealing from the old people, I don't care. There you go, Jen. I did that for you.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
It's totally disgusting. Like somehow, I hope she's thankful we took out Monica, since Monica was basically trying to expose Jen Shaw, who is a piece of garbage. She is in federal prison. She treats people like shit. She screams at them. And she's like, I hope she's glad we took her down.
And
what
the reason fuck? I thought that way was that was why she was ride or die. That was either a storyline. She knew all along that Jen was bad, but she needed a storyline, so it was either ride or die or Jen had something on her. But there was a reason why Heather was so faithful that was keeping her in like that, and it wasn't because she believed it. And I think that's what it was. I think Jen has something on her.
At this point, I've got to believe that as well. She must have something on her. I don't know though, but
probably embarrassing or something like that. Not illegal, but something very embarrassing to Heather.
I don't know, because she is threatening to sue. I don't know if she's threatening to sue Bravo or threatening to sue Heather for saying that she gave Heather the black eye. Wouldn't you think she'd be talking right now? Like,
even with the black
Heather
eye story, the problem now is the best that we've seen is Heather woke up with a black eye, didn't know how she got it.
But she knew it was Jen somehow.
Then Jen came in and asked or assumed it was her, but never actually said it was her. She was still hungover. And then Heather ran with that and said, I'll back you up.
Yeah.
That's not an admission of guilt, really.
No, it's really not.
Two half-drunk women having a discussion in the morning. And even in the audio that we did see, you don't know the placement of Jen's words because Heather is talking over whatever the heck Jen was trying to say. I didn't actually think...
It was inaudible, they said.
Oh,
so she was like verbally walking us through it. What's interesting is there are some other accounts out there. Dana Wilkie has said this on her podcast that she has credible sources, and again, I take all credible sources with such a grain of salt, but that the black eye was actually from something like totally stupid, like she hit her eye on a sink or a cabinet or whatever, and that it really wasn't Jen Shaw. So I don't know. I take that with a grain of salt. Jen Shaw is not rotting in prison, but she is in prison.
Yeah.
So I really don't believe anything she has to say. It's hard to believe Heather at this point because Heather made it into this whole thing. So I don't really know how she got the black eye. I don't think she actually knows how she got it, but she turned it into this.
She probably felt it.
My guess is it probably was from Jen, but it was an accident. It wasn't like Jen punched her in the face. It was, they were wrestling, they were goofing off, and she hit her eye. I don't know.
Maybe she made a pass at Jen and Jen popped her.
Maybe. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the recap. The reunion starts out with a packet of Lisa having her various meltdowns and snarky comments towards Monica. We find out that Lisa hasn't done her own makeup since 2019 and that she has daily glam because she can't see well enough to do it herself. Mary tells her, you're insecure.
And I guess Lisa's owning her insecurity. She's super insecure.
Well, she didn't own it. She said that I'm going to die glammed and in diamonds. I told John that's how I want to die.
She's basically wrapping herself in insecurity.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way.
If that's what brings you happiness, I guess.
Well, yeah. I don't know. All I got to say is it must be exhausting not being able to leave the house.
I feel sorry for John with each new day.
Imagine being on a vacation with her, right?
No.
And you want to go swimming or whatever, and she's like, I can't get in the water because I can't mess up my.
I can't get in the water.
Yeah, because of my once a day glam. But
my once a day glam.
I mean, she's such a pretty woman. I don't know why she's so.
And frankly, I guarantee you, she would look better without the glam.
Yeah, I have no idea. We've never seen her without it, so.
I always believe that most people look better without the glam.
So all the women take turns imitating each other's voices. Monica has Lisa's voice down pat. It's hilarious.
My God. All day she and I would be doing that together.
Yeah.
Monica, what do you think about this?
Oh, I would love it.
Oh, man.
And then, what's her name does? A couple of people. Was it Mary and Meredith both do Whitney's voice? And it was so funny. She's like, do I really sound like that? And we were like, yeah.
Yeah.
Andy then asks Mary what she thinks her future with the group is, and she replies that if the group opens up to her and accepts her, she would want to come back. And I was like, Mary, you kind of lost me here because I feel like the group really did open up to her. Even after she sent all those nasty texts, said all those shitty things to their faces, they 100% still invited her to everything. And she chose to sit in the van and not participate and didn't want anything to do with them and was calling, what's her name, a bobblehead and told...
Which was the greatest line of all season. Bobblehead. I love it.
Yeah, I know.
So how is that different than what Monica actually didn't do, but what she posted about what other people said about the girls? So Monica didn't actually necessarily say bad things about the ladies. She simply quoted what Jen said about them. And yet Mary actually said bad things to their face and online, and they are begging her back. I don't get it.
I mean, obviously what Monica was doing was a little bit fishier, but yeah, I don't know.
But how do you go from you can never work here again to please, please, please come back? How are we? They're shades of gray, those two. They're pretty close.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We are now on to everything that went down in Bermuda. They discussed the DMs that Monica and Meredith both received and how everybody thought it was Meredith that sent them.
I still do.
I don't know. I mean, they didn't really discuss that much.
The DMs didn't seem to be linked with anything Reality Von Teese was sending.
I don't actually, honestly, I don't know if they posted anything about Angie on there or not. Well, Angie wasn't on the show yet. That's why. This was Angie's first full-time snowflake.
Right, but we knew that Meredith did this when she had a problem with someone, and she was having a problem with Angie when those DMs came.
Yeah. I think it was Lisa.
And Monica probably was talking a little
Whitney
too much.
even said it. Meredith brought it up or whatever, that she received these DMs about Lisa.
And Meredith is no better than Heather with the whole, oh, I wish they had only filmed that one discussion. I mean, she keeps saying that. That was like her big prickly pear even. Was that
something about backtracking
didn't film
and about
our discussion. So it didn't happen, Meredith, because you lie like every other lady on those 2 couches.
Yeah. We also see the final dinner where Heather is reading the script off of her hand while she's outing Monica as reality Von Teese. And it was so funny. I did not notice it watching it in real time, but then I saw people reposting it where she was looking down when she was doing that. Screenshots, receipt. And she was looking at her hand, reading off of her hand. I was like, holy shit. That was all like...
She's like a whole paragraph
on
her hand.
Andy asks Monica if she really is reality Von Teese, and she says, yes, I am part of the page. I did not create the page, but I did post on it. And I think he asked her, like, how long have you been posting on it? She said since 2021. She clarifies that the page was made to expose Jen Shaw and the way she treated her employees, and that the page did not come for other ladies. Andy asks Heather, what proof do you have that the page came after you? And she's like, the posts are all still up on the page. Again, they're far and few between compared to all the other posts about Jen Shaw. So Monica tells them that she was just reposting things that Jen had said about them, that she wasn't actually the one who said it. And Heather's like, yeah, but you still reposted horrible things that were said about us and tagged us. And Monica's like, yes, I was trying to show everybody how shitty Jen was treating all of you. I'm not denying that I reposted shitty things. Heather and Lisa claim that it was still shitty of her to be reposting and tagging them in posts. Heather's like, you don't deserve a platform because bullies don't deserve one. Okay.
That was crazy.
Yeah. I wouldn't actively say that Monica was bullying them. Was she being sneaky?
Well, you said you checked out the site and it wasn't like... You didn't see anything that was so bad. Doesn't mean it wasn't there.
No, I saw a couple of the things that they showed on the thing.
Was she saying something directly or was she repeating something? Or did you see anything
I didn't really notice.
Okay. Yeah.
But most of the stuff on there is about Jen. I would say like 99.99%.
And was any of it as bad as what we know Mary has said to their face?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we know that she sent everybody terrible texts and stuff. Like she called Lisa a witch and like all kinds of stuff. So it wasn't in a public forum like on the internet. It was privately between them, but she still said it and they still seemed okay with her being on the show. So
it's the double standard we just mentioned.
Yeah, I don't know. Andy tries to explain to Monica, you really hurt the other ladies by repeatedly reposting things that Jen had said about them. She's like, well, I was just trying to get it out, or we were trying to get out how awful Jen was, and I'm really sorry that I ended up hurting all of you. She tells Andy that all the ladies were big fans of the page, and then they show something that Angie had posted under the page, which was kind of no big deal, whatever. She claims, we also did post good things about the women as well, and Heather scoffs and says, yeah, 1 out of 10,000 posts. You're not a hero. And again, the page wasn't about them being great people. The page was for taking down Jen Shaw.
Honestly, I thought Heather really performed poorly last night, and that was just another example of, like, the more she kept attacking, the more I started going, man, I know Monica screwed up, but I'm starting to side with Monica now.
Well, here's the thing. Heather and Lisa couldn't overlook the negative things that were said about them. You know, they were jaded. They couldn't see the bigger picture that, hey, we were trying to expose Jen Shaw for the piece of shit that she really was. Granted, yeah, there was a couple of things here and there that we said about you. They got so mad about those couple of things that, although they claim that, you know, people came for their businesses and all that due to some of the postings, I don't know. Lisa tells Monica, why do you want to be friends with us? Based on what you wrote, you hate us. And Andy's like, do you want to be their friends or do you just want to be on the show? Monica's like, you know, both can be true. I really feel bad about what happened. And Heather's like, yeah, I don't think that's true, which I kind of have to agree. I don't think she actually wanted to be friends with any of them. She really wanted to be on the show, which who cares, because does anybody really come onto this show being like, yay, I want to be friends with the cast? No, most of them come on because they want to be famous.
No, And Andy said something very confusing in an article that I read today where he said, Housewives has always been about ladies getting, friends getting together. No,
it's not. There are no real friendships anymore.
It is about people that are completely out of touch with reality, going to a restaurant, getting schnookered and fighting.
Yeah.
That's the whole show, guys. I hate to break it to you.
Not only that, for the last, I don't know how many years, all the newbies coming on were not friends of anybody on the show. Very rarely did you get somebody who was authentically a friend. Shit.
And by the way, you did that in Beverly Hills. And it ain't working out very well, is it, with Kyle's friend?
That's not really her friend. It was a neighbor down the street. Oh, yes, that's how they always bring them on. Like, oh yeah, we were friends. But they weren't. They tried to convince us that the whole cast of the New York reboot was friends. And none of them were. I think like 2 of them were. Everybody else wasn't friends.
And so what this was, in my opinion, was Andy making excuse after excuse after excuse for a poor decision if they really did get rid of Monica.
Yeah. Andy asks Monica, why weren't you up front with the ladies at the beginning of the show? Just let them know I was connected to this page. And she says, well, that was because all the people who were running the page, we all agreed to take it to the grave. And I didn't want to out anybody, which I could see that. Because she was very honest about everything else. Although she did lie a couple of times when she was outed for stuff, then she tried to deny it. Like during the season, and then she comes back and says, oh yeah, no, I did do that.
So I thought about Monica and her lies. Name one housewife that you know of that doesn't lie regularly.
Oh. Yeah.
So why are we calling her out again? Why is it different when Monica lies?
I don't know.
What about Vicky and the cancer?
Yeah.
And she came back. She was fine. What about
Heather and the black eye?
And the black eye. And saying that it could have been a good-looking producer and they had sex and had an investigation over it.
Yeah.
And she just sat there and let it happen.
Yeah.
But that was forgiven. And there was, as they like to say, grace given for that. Mm-hmm. And does that producer have to give grace too? That had to go through that investigation?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that it was a specific one that she accused. She just said...
Oh, I thought when they said investigation, it would be like
they investigated HR. They did. They investigated probably everybody, I would assume, and they were like, we don't have any.
Completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Right. Because
I agree.
And yet you're back on the show because in a real professional world, you would be fired.
I mean, there's so many instances. If you look across all the housewives,
but if she worked
of
at
shit
an
that
office,
happened that you're like, wow, I can't believe that happened. But that person came back. But yet,
here's
for some reason...
If this was an office setting and Heather went to a company party and had a black eye the next day and then said everything else the way she said and human resources investigated it and turned out she lied, she'd be fired.
Right.
She would be dismissed from that job immediately.
Right.
So I don't understand why she's forgiven.
I don't know. Lisa then asks Monica how she got the videos that were leaked. And then she essentially answers the question herself, and she claims that Monica was getting the videos from Jen's security camera from inside the house. Lisa claims this is how Monica knew about Lisa talking about meeting Snoop Dogg with her friends, which I guess she must have been at Jen's house when she said that, if she's accusing Monica of hearing that or whatever. Monica's like, no, Jen told me about it. I wasn't watching Jen on her security cameras, which was in her name for some reason. I really wish they would have asked her, why did Jen tell you to put her security camera in your name? That seems super odd to me.
Lisa was another one with a well-rehearsed list of accusations that she would literally, every chance she got, she was throwing an accusation at Monica, hoping some of it would stick. Very little did, in my opinion. And I mean, I went from loving Lisa in the beginning of the season and Heather to just really kind of, oof.
Yeah. Well, I
don't hate them.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of like, what happened, ladies?
Honestly, I don't want to watch Heather anymore. After watching her in this reunion and this whole victim shit, and after watching her on Watch What Happens Live and saying Jen should be glad we took out Monica, I'm like, you know what, Heather? You're dismissed. I don't know that I ever need to watch you again.
I think when any housewife works so hard to remove another housewife and then brags about it the way she did.
She's such a pick-me,
we really need to have to look at you now and be like, why are you here? And how often are you going to be this toxic, this calculating, and frankly, this much of a waste of everyone's time?
No, I agree. Lisa then claims that this is how Monica got the video of Jen screaming at Koa. And Monica's like, yeah, no, that's not true. I recorded that on my phone. And then Monica makes a good point of how Lisa is more upset about her recording Jen and all the shitty things that Jen was doing than being mad at Jen for all the stuff she was doing.
Exactly. So the theory I have is why they did this and why they coordinated all this is because they know Monica very, very quickly was going to be the center of this show. And those egos weren't going to have it. And in my prediction, if Monica does survive this, in 2 seasons, she's in the center of the show. And I actually also think she is the blueprint for the new housewives, certainly out of Salt Lake. And they're going to continue to look for more of them. And those ladies are threatened because they know they're about to get pushed out.
So apparently there's already 2 new housewives, or that's like the rumor that's going around. One is like a model. I forgot what the other one is.
So let's talk about the 2 that need to go then. Who would you pick? So if we're kicking 2 off the island.
Heather.
Oh yeah, Heather. Bye, Heather.
Bye, Heather. I don't need you anymore.
So I think the other one, at least for me, takes a little more deliberation. Who do you think, if you had to kick 2 off, and we're keeping Monica, by the way.
Oh, we're keeping Monica.
We're keeping Monica. We're adding 2, so we need to kick 2 off. That's why we need to kick 2 off.
Probably.
And Mary doesn't count. We keep Mary forever.
Yeah, no, Mary. I don't care if Mary comes back or not. My guess is probably Lisa. Only because I feel like, and I hate to say it, I love Lisa, just because she's so obnoxious, but she doesn't get along with Monica.
I don't disagree, but I think to even more severely punish Lisa than kicking her off is she gets to be a friend of.
Yeah, that would totally chap her ass, wouldn't it?
I'm not a friend of. Where's my glam?
I was the one who brought this here. Which turns out there was some article that actually the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City was put together, built around Miss Mary Cosby. Andy then brings up how Monica was driving by Jen's house and stalking her. Lisa tells her, "You're a mother with 4 kids. What are you doing? You're sick." Monica claims, "I was not stalking. I never did anything to her. I was just driving by," which I'm like, I mean, that's some questionable behavior. But it is not the first time that we saw housewives doing drive-bys. We saw Danielle Staub doing it back during the Real Housewives of New Jersey. So it is not a new concept.
While we love Monica, we're not delusional, right?
No,
we understand she lies.
There's issues.
There's a little bit of crazy going on there.
Right, but I love to watch it.
That's what the prototype is.
Then we see some clips of her where she's actually driving by Jen's house, which for the life of me, I can't figure out why she would have recorded herself.
That's about as smart as someone filming themselves stealing an ATM.
Right?
Yeah.
She even makes a comment in the video that she doesn't want to get a restraining order against her for stalking. I was like, oof. And she had binoculars. I was like, oh, girl.
And we know who gave her that clip.
I don't know who gave her that
The
clip.
hairdresser.
Oh. Why was she sending that to Tanisha?
Because they had sworn to take it to the grave, and they were way too comfortable with that pinky swear.
I guess.
That's why. These dummies.
Andy then asks Monica, "Why were you driving by Jen's house?" And this is kind of where Monica loses me again. She claims that she did it for the FBI to get proof that Jen was violating her probation by drinking and driving. Yeah. And I mean, come on. The FBI has federal charges against this woman. They're not looking for, like, proof that she's drinking and driving. I get it. She probably wanted to have Jen thrown in jail, so she was trying to get her busting her
that's the problem.
Probation. But, I mean...
So that's the problem with everyone that lies, is eventually you'll put a lie that's beyond your intelligence. We see it all the time with Dorit and with Whitney when they try to do their stuff. And like, oh, look, she doesn't know that we all get her crap and she's totally lying to us. But I think that's what we saw with Monica, where she tried something, the room was a little too smart, and they're like, that just doesn't make any sense. They called her out for it, and she tried to backpedal with probably which was the truth, which was, if you have anything, show it to us. And she was trying to go find more stuff.
Right.
Not at all cool, by the way, Monica.
No. That is a bit of a snitchy snitch.
That's harassment.
And it's snitching.
Yeah, it's snitching.
Snitches get stitches.
Yeah. You should have kept it to the abuse of you and just left it at that.
Yeah. Angie and Lisa are laughing and making comments like, what was she going to do? Pull her over? Which I was kind of like... Monica's like I was going to call the cops or whatever.
But that was like the best time of the night for those 3 ladies, I think, because the rest of the night, even Angie was coming off just kind of not great. You know, I think she came off the best of the 3 on the right couch.
Yeah, that whole side of the couch was loud, and they were like talking over everybody, and like
they were very aggressive.
Whitney and Meredith were not like that at all. They sat very quietly. It was interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Monica then asks, "Why are you defending a criminal? Why do you care if I was driving by her house?" And Andy then says, yeah, why do you care that she was driving by Jen's house? She was her former employee. She was trying to collect more evidence. She wasn't driving by any of your houses. And then Heather goes into this long rehearsed explanation about the way Monica went about befriending Jen to take her down, makes me not want to be her friend. And I was just like... whatever, Heather. You're so rehearsed.
And that's when Heather kept trying to, very unsuccessfully, compare Jen Shaw with Monica.
I know.
It doesn't work, Heather. Stop doing
things.
it. Again, your lie is beyond your intelligence. We see what you're doing. Please stop doing it, Heather.
Heather then goes on about the social media aspect is what ruins being a housewife. And if you could eliminate that aspect, it would be a whole different experience, which I get what she's saying. Internet trolls are horrible to deal with. There are people out there who take it way too far. They're like taking it way beyond the fact that this is just a TV show. These women actually do have lives and everything. But at the same time, I'm like, you're putting yourself on this show. You're opening yourself up to judgment. So you can be famous. You kind of have to take the good with the bad. You don't want to be...
Is it any different for a TV actor, a musician, or a movie actor?
No.
Who all get flamed or trashed when they do something dumb or they say something dumb. When you endorse celebrity and then you become a celebrity, you have to take the good with the bad or don't be a celebrity.
That's what I'm saying. Heather then says, you would get higher caliber women if somebody policed up the internet trolls. Which I really don't think higher caliber women would ever come on a show like this, to be honest with you.
And I have a question. Does that mean the ladies on the couches were low caliber?
I don't know, but I was like, wow, Heather, you just made yourself look like you're a low caliber bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great, though, if like they did that and then next year there was a whole new cast and Monica?
Yeah.
Just to teach them all a lesson.
That's never going to happen.
No.
I mean, it should. I agree with you.
I
would rather watch Monica with her mom's dysfunction and all that than watch Heather write another book
what about that?
Being a bad Mormon and listening to Lisa sell Vita tequila and,
The only way I'll watch
Whitney make something up about her
Monica.
marriage.
Right. But the only way I will watch this next year, season 5, without Monica, is if Andy and the producers swap Monica out with someone even crazier like LD Millionaire.
Speaking of LD Millionaire being on the show. So last night she tweeted, "This is what was done to me. Selective clips, not letting me talk, not inviting me to the reunion to set the record straight." She actually thought that she should have been invited to the reunion.
I mean, other people have been invited that have had a lesser role than she has, that have had like a moment or two, or at least a cameo talking head moment. I mean...
Well, but her and Monica weren't talking at this point.
That's true.
Not only that, she literally all season was like, I didn't want anything to do with this show. I didn't want anything to do with this show. Now she's like, I wasn't invited. She wanted to go to the Bermuda trip. She wanted to come to the reunion so she could clarify her shit. I was like, man, you are crazy lady.
Well, but I think it also helps us understand Monica better when we get to see LD Millionaire's crazy.
I agree. I'm sure growing up with LD Millionaire was a fucking nightmare, and dealing with her to this day is a nightmare. But at the same time, you're a 40-year-old woman. You're going to have to take accountability for yourself at some point. You can't keep blaming your mom for everything.
Right.
Anyway, Lisa then tells Andy that they brought Monica in knowing that she wanted to take us all down. And Andy's like, nobody knew anything about it. And Heather's like, well, Monica claims that production knew. And Andy's like, who in production knew? And she's like, the first time I interviewed, I told production. Andy tries to claim that if you told production that you ran a burner account, they wouldn't have casted you. And Monica just says, okay.
And then Lisa backed her up, I thought, and said, your people set us up. Either
I didn't hear that.
Right around there or right after it. She did.
Andy then brings up the Greek mafia rumors and the DMs about Angie's financial records. He asks Monica if she had anything to do with the DMs about Angie's finances, and she says, no, I would have admitted that. Meredith then says, you had the evidence while we were on the plane to Palm Springs. Monica's like, no, both of us heard the same thing because we received the same DM. Angie then addresses how she feels like somebody was trying to take her down and imply that it was Monica. Andy's like, well, who brought it up on camera for the first time? And Monica's like, I did. And Andy's like, well, you can't bring something up on camera and then say, I didn't say it. Monica clarifies, I didn't start the rumors, but I did repeat it on camera. And then they all start yelling over each other. And at this point, Andy has lost total control over the women.
Yeah,
I was like, what is happening?
It was like, well, yeah. It was like a restaurant scene.
We are now on to Heather and the black eye that I never, ever, ever, ever want to hear about again. And apparently Jen was the one who gave it to her. And we still don't know how it happened. All we know is that Heather said they were drinking a lot. She woke up in the morning with a black eye, and she knew that she got it from Jen, but she couldn't remember how. And I was like, so you were so drunk, you couldn't remember how you got the black eye, but you remembered it was from Jen. So I guess Jen had come into her room that morning and was like, hey, did I do that to you? And she's like, don't worry, I'll cover you. So even Jen apparently didn't remember giving her this black eye. That's how drunk they were.
And actually, so Jen never said, I gave you a black eye until Heather interpreted the inaudible audible, right? Because I thought I remembered at one point.
Jen still denies to this
Jen
day.
Say, did I give you the black eye? And that's a question, not an assertion.
So Andy says to her, then why did you cover up for her? And she's like, I have been covering up for her for 3 years, so I was not going to stop at the black eye, and I was scared to say anything.
I mean, honestly, it was a lot of drinking, and the next morning I woke up with the black eye. I knew I'd gotten it from Jen. I didn't know how, but I knew I'd gotten it from Jen. She was the first person I texted. She came in the room. She said, did I give that to you? And I said, don't worry, I'll cover.
Why was your inclination, I'm going to cover for her?
I don't know. I was scared of her, I think.
You were scared of her?
And were you
scared at that point because she was in legal trouble?
I had been covering for her for 3 years. I was not going to stop at the black eye. I was that in, and I was too scared to say anything. I was terrified to say it. I was still scared to say it at reunion. I was still scared to say it in Bermuda. But as I sat there watching this happen again, I realized that, like, I was contributing, kind of.
So she talks about how scared she is, but she doesn't know how she got the black eye. It wasn't like she knew Jen punched her in the face, right? Again, they could have been wrestling, they could have been doing anything, they've been goofing off, whatever, and she accidentally got the black eye from Jen.
She couldn't remember what happened.
Right.
But she was so sure that Jen gave her a black eye.
Right.
Jen didn't admit to it. She asked it.
Did I do that to you?
Did I do that?
Right.
And then Heather took that and basically as an admission and say, I'll protect you.
Yeah.
And Jen's already in so much trouble with everything else going on. She's probably just thankful. She's not even going to think about it. And she's just thankful that Heather's just going to...
But if it was an accident, it totally wouldn't have been an issue with her court case. Who cares?
She doesn't know that.
I guess. So they play some unseen footage, and this is where we see Jen and Heather talking the next day about the black eye, but the audio wasn't clear. So Heather walks us through what they were saying, and it was basically, I can't believe I did that to you, and Heather says, don't worry, I've got you. Jen still to this day denies that she gave Heather the black eye, but she's in prison, so...
Well, it doesn't make her a liar. And given Heather's
doesn't
performance...
make her very credible either.
No, but I would actually say Heather this year has lost a lot of credibility.
Oh, for sure.
I wouldn't go so far as to say she lied about getting hit or anything like that, but something's weird.
Oh, for sure. Heather then apologizes to everybody for not telling everybody that it was Jen, but it just got so big and she just couldn't handle it anymore. And also, let's agree that she was totally loving the attention with the black eye.
She did. I mean, when Whitney was like, can I give you a hug? And they all swarmed around
But even
her.
last season when she was like, I don't know. I mean, and she was eating it up. It became like this huge thing.
But exactly. But to your point, she's a big old tag-along.
Yeah, she's a pick-me. And
right,
so she was finally getting like attention that she wanted.
And she's getting the attention that she wants. And she even has delusions of grandeur that she'll be in the center.
Yeah. We find out that the lawyers were brought into it, and Andy tells her, it really wasn't funny to accuse producers of covering up the crime. She apologizes and claims, I'm still scared to admit it now, blah, blah, blah. I'm not buying it.
Again,
this whole victim, I'm scared of Jen.
Double standard.
At this point, Jen would have said something.
I know Andy's calling it a break with Monica right now. The other thing I will say that, as I read the rest of the article, is Andy did say that there could be other projects in mind with Monica.
Oh, did he say that?
He did.
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear that.
That he might put them in an all-star or do something like that, but right now she's on a break.
Andy then asks Heather, should you guys all extend the same grace to Monica that Heather is asking for? And Heather speaks up and says, I can't answer that question because the way I handled my situation was to internalize it. And Andy quickly points out to her, well, you didn't really internalize it when you're accusing a production of covering it up or joking around that it was somebody from the production team. And she's like, well, I said that as a joke. It was obviously humor and I didn't post about it online. I was the victim, but I was also the person who was supposed to tell on her, so I internalized it. I was like, there she goes. I'm a victim. That word, I'm a victim of Jen Shah. That's because you chose to be. Nobody else chose to be. Andy then asks her, did you and Jen discuss how big it was getting? And she's like, yeah. And Jen said, unless they can show us the footage of it happening, we're just going to continue to deny it. She claims, I'm still worried about retaliation, and I will never let somebody be a fake friend again.
And I think
Monica.
For me, this was where Lisa and Heather at this point had moved from basically two of my favorite housewives to they could be friends of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to see them gone. I think they're interesting people.
I don't want to see Heather anymore. Honestly, I
don't want to see him as a focus.
Heather
anymore.
Is so
conniving.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Conniving. Yeah, I don't need Heather to be the center of any stage.
Monica's, don't get me wrong, Monica's conniving too, but she's like outward about it. Heather really tries.
Heather's got a whole
She
new
tries
layer
to cover it up,
dark,
and like the whole fact that she knew about the Koa video before all of this shit back from whenever 2021. She knew about that video of Jen yelling was coming out, and she even said, "Can I show Bravo? Can I show Meredith?" And then she acted all like, "Oh my God, she's I mean,
honestly,
all bullshit."
You knew what bullshit started when she never fired the hairdresser.
Well, she says the hairdresser doesn't work for her anymore, but I don't know, whatever. I don't know why she didn't fire the hairdresser.
Like immediately. Why did you wait so long then?
I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe the hairdresser knew other stuff. I don't know. None of it makes sense to me. Anyways, Andy then asks Monica, how do you feel after hearing what Heather just said? And Monica actually like tears up, and she's like, it was really hard because I know what it was like to be on the receiving end of Jen. And I feel like Heather and Angie both know how hard it was. And Lisa, of course, has to throw herself into the mix. And she was like, what about me? Monica's like, well, I'm actually talking about the physical abuse that we all received from Jen. And Lisa's like, well, she almost beat me up on the van. And I was like, oh man, maybe Whitney was.
So maybe a verbal threat doesn't count.
I don't know, but I was
no,
like,
it doesn't
maybe
count,
Whitney
Lisa,
was
because
right.
these two got punched.
Whitney, well, we don't know that Heather got punched.
Well, they're claiming they did.
Right. Well, I don't know what physically she did to Monica.
Oh, what was it?
Yeah, I can't remember.
It was Angie, I thought, actually.
Well, she dumped water on Angie's head.
Yeah, that was assault.
But what was the physical part that she did to Monica?
She never went into it. But apparently whatever happened to Heather, Monica later claimed the same thing happened to her. So maybe Monica really did get a black eye.
I don't think so. Monica then tells Andy, Heather internalizes her trauma and I blurt mine all out. And so I understand her fear of retaliation. And then all of the women rally behind Heather, the broken bird, because she was a victim. And I was just like, oh my God, you guys clearly had a plan going into this reunion that you guys were all going to stick together. And
because they do not want the Monicas on that stage pushing them out. And that's the thing, is Monica was so dynamic, so interesting, and so fun to watch. Imagine two Monicas. And now if you do two Monicas, no one's going to watch the other housewives.
Andy then asks them if they can give Monica the same grace that they're giving Heather. And Heather's like, you know what? Again, Heather answers for these women. She answered when...
That's why it's rehearsed.
I'm like, why does Heather keep answering for them? Heather says, after watching the way Monica came into the reunion today, it made it very clear to me who Monica really is. And I'm like, how come the other girls...
Because Heather's the biggest bully on those couches. And Heather, those ladies must be terrified of her. Look what Heather just did to Monica.
So then she goes on about how this was the best season they ever had and how they all enjoyed each other so much. And at this point, I have to question, was Heather watching the same show as us? Because I was like, you guys literally accused Meredith of sending DMs again about Angie. We had Whitney screaming about Lisa not consoling her enough, and then also screaming that Heather exploited her vagina in her book. And I was like... What show were you watching that this was a great season for all of you and you all really got along?
Apparently the same show that Andy watched, where a bunch of friends get together and hang out at the restaurant. And that's what we're watching, Andy. Whatever Heather and Andy are watching, I don't want any of that. You know what I mean?
It would be kind of boring. That's kind of what we do in our lives, we all just hang out and chat.
Yeah, that's just home. Yeah.
Anyways, so they essentially all say they can't give Monica any grace because obviously they've all agreed to this beforehand. That definitely came through. Like, we are sticking together. We are the OGs. And that's that.
Well, then you all shall ride or die together.
Yeah.
And
and all of
unfortunately,
you
no
can
one's
go.
going to watch your show.
No, and that's the thing is they'll end up just
internet's
recasting the whole
already
thing, or
exploded.
they're going to cancel it. Like
I didn't see anyone saying, I can't wait for next year without Monica.
No.
Not a single person.
It's going to be the same thing that happened to Dallas, the Real Housewives of Dallas. They kicked off, what was her name?
I remember that.
Yeah, and then the show just ended. Andy then asks Monica if there's anything else that she wants to say, and she just says, no. I was like, wow. She really just, I think she's defeated.
That was the smartest thing she could have done. Everything she said, the ladies and Andy at that point were just pounding her.
Well, they were talking over her. It was like she was either fighting her defensive, whatever she spews out of her mouth as a defense mechanism, or she was shut down.
No, and if you watch the first reunion episode, Andy's on her side. He's very consoling. He's very listening. And he 100% did a 180 by the third one. And he was just another lady on the couch yelling at Monica as far as I could tell, or certainly questioning her for stuff she really didn't post about the ladies. She was repeating and completely gives Heather, that was no, don't do that.
He did kind of hold her accountable for the production stuff.
Is she on a break?
No, but I don't know that it was up to Andy that she got put on a break.
Andy runs the show.
No, he doesn't. There are higher ups.
There is no one more important at Bravo than Andy Cohen.
No, I don't agree with you there.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree, my love.
We agree to disagree. Anyway, so they all go around and they do warm and fuzzies and cold and pricklies. And of course, every cold and prickly revolved around Monica. And at this point, I was done. I was like, I'm done.
I got up and left. I don't think I watched all the cold and pricklies. I thought that was probably one of the worst moments Andy could have thought to do, which is, hey, you know what, everyone? We just, for the last 55 minutes, kicked this poor woman in the blue dress.
55 minutes? It was like a 10-hour day.
Right? Let's finish with the game, and let's make it all about how much we dislike this person. Let's kick her some more one more time. And he does this. He did it initially with Vanderpump Rules and that girl. He just let them drop kick her.
Yeah.
And really kind of a repeat of that. And frankly, I'm getting tired of it. You know? I did not like it very much with Vanderpump Rules. I got sick of it. I couldn't watch that whole reunion. It was too toxic. And this was approaching that well. And I don't think that's good entertainment. I think Andy needs to peel back on that whole, let's go after one person and just really nail them for 3 episodes straight.
Somebody made a good point online today that why didn't they have a one-on-one sit down with Monica and Andy where he clarified a bunch of things like they did Raquel and Tom. They each did like sit downs where he asked them independently when you didn't have everybody else like screaming over them, what was going on.
Right.
And he didn't get that. Yeah, you're right. Everybody
and I found that was even more annoying when today or yesterday he made the statement that this is kind of like court. Well, if it is, why do you treat these people differently than these people?
Yeah.
Why did they get their one-on-one? Why didn't Monica? I mean, Andy, you really didn't do a great job on this reunion overall.
Anyways, guys, that is all we have. Salt Lake City is over.
It was a great season. I'm really happy, and thank you for inviting me. It was a lot of fun, and it was a great time.
Yeah, so we will be back tomorrow with our recap of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So we will talk to you guys then. Bye.
Bye, everyone.